ABC. It's Dave here. Spring's coming on strong, and I've been doing a lot of yard work here lately. Went out there today. It's actually pretty cool today, and I really like the weather. I wish it would stay like this all summer, but I know that's not happening, which is why I've been doing some yard work lately, because I know once summer gets here in East Texas, it's going to be murder. And so I better catch up on it while it's still at least halfway, where you can get out there and, do some yard work. But yeah, I did a little bit this morning. It's nice and cool still. It's supposed to rain a little bit later. But as you know, it's record store day, and really where I live, it's too small a town for record store day. We have a couple of used record stores here, and we also have like a new half-price books store that opened up here, but really no new record stores. I imagine Barnes & Nobles, they might have had some kind of little celebration. But actually on record store day, I do like the idea of record store day, although I really don't participate too much. I did get out the day before and just kind of went looking around to the general places I go look at. I'm more of a bargain shopper and don't really have a list of anything I'm looking for. I'll just go out and look. And I did do that the day before record store day. I went by Goodwill, and I did go buy half-price books just to see what they had going on there. And let's see where else, a couple of pawn shops maybe. But that's about the extent of it here. Probably the closest place to us is Dallas, which is about an hour and a half away. And I really didn't want to drive all the way over there. Maybe someday I might do that, but for right now I really didn't want to. So anyway, when I got out, I did find a few things, and I'm always surprised at what I might find when I'm out and looking here. I mean, you never know what you'll run into. But I did find this one by Keiko Matsui. This is a Asian keyboardist, and she kind of plays a light jazz, or maybe it might get a little bit into New Age territory. But I just got this, and this is her collection, so it has like a lot of different selections off her other albums on it, and was real happy to run into it. Here's one I found, which I'm surprised I found this. This is Gift of the Angels by Steve Halpern. And this too is a kind of a best of collection by him. I only have one other CD by him, and so I was happy to find this too. It was only $1. I found this at the library actually. But he's a keyboardist as well, and plays synthesizer, and he may play other instruments as well. But I have listened to this at night, and it's going to be a really nice album to find. I don't think you can see any of the songs on there, but there's selections from Radiance, Ancient Echoes, Inner Peace, Starborn Suite, Crystal Suite, Higher Ground, and some other albums that he has put out. This is on Inner Peace Records. But yeah, I've been enjoying it, been playing it at night. I found this one too down at the library, and as you can kind of see right here, I don't know if you can see that, but it says not for sale. So I guess this is like a promo CD that somebody had from somewhere, but I saw the ECM label, and so I thought, I didn't know anything about this musician. His name's Thomas Stronen, and the name of the album is called Parish. And so I went ahead and bought it because it was fairly cheap, and this is what the album cover looks like. But Thomas Stronen plays drums, and then you've got Bobo Stetson on piano, who has recorded with ECM before. You've got Fredrik Jonquist. He plays clarinet and tenor sax, and Matt Ellerston is on it as well, and I didn't write down what he plays, but let's see. Yeah, I didn't write that down. But it's kind of piano driven, and it's a real sort of kind of subdued kind of album, and it also consists of a lot of sort of improvisation. So I could kind of see there's like 13 songs on it, so I can kind of maybe understand why somebody, it may not have been their thing, but it's actually a real good album, and I'm glad I found it and bought it. But yeah, a large part of it is improvisation. Lot of it comes from between the piano and clarinet. And although Thomas Stronen is the drummer, he doesn't really showboat. It's not like he does drum solos or anything. But yeah, they all play together rather well. And as if you can find the album, it's worth picking up. Then I found Grover Washington Jr. album when I was out. This is an anthology on Elektra Records, I believe. And I didn't have anything by Grover Washington Jr. And I've always been a little bit curious about him. This did have a song on it that I recognized called, let's see, what is the name of it? Just the Two of Us. There are a couple of vocals on it. It actually opens up with a female vocalist, and of course the Just the Two of Us you probably heard on either light jazz radio or on popular radio, I don't know. But and then there's a song called Jamming, which I think is, if I'm not mistaken, the one that Bob Marley did. But yeah, pretty nice little album. And I found this one. I'm going to have to look at the Caetano Velocio Fina Estampa. This, I don't know anything about this album. I should have looked up on Amazon or something about it. I found this at Goodwill, and it's actually a really beautiful album. It's he has got some songs on here. He sings in Spanish or Spanish, and there may be some other languages on here, I don't know, but I think it's mostly Spanish. And all the songs on here come from various regions, and I didn't recognize any of the musicians on here, but they're all really great musicians. And like, he's got songs on here from Brazil and Argentina, Mexico, Cuba, Peru, Puerto Rico, and of course all the lyrics are in Spanish as well. So but That's okay. Like I said, I don't speak Spanish, but just the tone of his voice is really great, and the whole album is kind of orchestrated a little bit in parts like like Gil Evans or something like that. But that only adds to the mood of it, as far as I'm concerned. And I was really surprised that this album this album really appealed to me, actually. And I would recommend it to people to, like, if you can find something by Caetano Veloso, to really check it out, because I think you'll be amazed that I like this back part of the cover too. It looks like some kind of ornate, I don't know, building. I found this Blind Faith album too, but you already had this on vinyl, but with this one here, there's actually a couple extra cuts which are just jams on it. But there's an acoustic jam, Time Winds, and Sleeping on the Ground. And it actually is a 2 CD set. It comes with a whole nother CD, which are just long jams. But and that's what they call them, is long jams. Very long jam, very long and good jam, slow jam, change of address jam, and slow jam 2. But I always kind of like this album, and I was happy to find it on CD with the extra disc in it. So yeah, I was happy to find that. It's got Steve Winwood, of course, and Eric Clapton, and I think Rick Beach is on here, and I can't remember, Ginger Baker's the drummer. There you go. But I always heard that this was, I heard a rumor that was Ginger Baker's daughter, I guess, due to the red hair, but I looked it up online, and that's not the case. It's just somebody that they found. Also been listening to a few, going back and listening to some albums that I've already had, just to see how they sit with me. I've been listening to some John McLaughlin. This is Mahavishnu is the title of it, and it's on Warner Brothers. And of course, John McLaughlin became pretty famous with his Birds of Fire LP. It's a real fiery, fusion-y album. And once he got past Birds of Fire, he kind of started, which is good for him, because I have my mood. I only have a limited moods for Birds of Fire. I actually like that the Intermounting Flame album a little bit better, but I was listening to this. The first side of this is kind of along that the Intermounting Flame or Birds of Fire. It's real fusiony, so I didn't kind of care for the first side, but then the second side gets a little bit better. And let's see, you've got Bill Evans plays on here, and Danny Gottlieb plays percussion. Billy Cobham plays drums and percussion, and Jonas Hellborg plays a bass. Of course, John McLaughlin plays the guitar. But yeah, it's an okay album. Then I was listening to this one. This is John McLaughlin with the One Truth Band, Electric Dreams. And I like this album a little bit better. It's a little bit, it seemed like on that other album it was, at least on the first side, it kind of has that fusion, that dated kind of fusion sound to it. But this one kind of gets past that. And I think there's a vocal on the last song on the second side on this one. This one happens to be produced by John McLaughlin. This came out in 1979, which is odd because this one came out before this one did. But let's see. who all's on this album. This is actually a pretty good album. This has Tony Smith on it, Fernando Sanders, which is a keyboardist, and El Shankar, who plays violin. Several other musicians, but yeah, pretty good album. Worth picking up if you can find it cheap. Hadn't heard this album in a long time. This is Carlos Santana and Alice Coltrane made this duo album. I like the album cover. It's called Illuminations. This is actually a quadraphonic release of the album that I found. This came out in 1974, and it's actually a pretty good album. I know when it came out I wasn't exactly that drawn to it, but it's a pretty good album. It kind of starts out with a chant, you know, on side one, which is a little bit corny maybe, but you know, it's got some good musicians on here, and it's done pretty well. Of course, Alice Coltrane is used to be married to John Coltrane. She plays harp. She also plays piano, I believe. Where Santana on guitar, got Dave Holland on bass, and Jack DeJohnette on cymbals and percussion, and let's see here, I think that's about it. But yeah, it's a nice, well, there's some violins on here as well by several people, and a cello, violas. But yeah, it's a pretty good album if you can find it fairly cheap. This kind of reminded me of another album by Santana, which is this one here. It's Caravanserai, which actually I kind of prefer this over this one. But if you can find either one, you know, at a good price, they're worth picking up. But this one here, Caravanserai, has always been like a kind of like one of those classic albums for me. This came out in 1972. So if you like Santana, this would be a good one to buy. But either one would be worth buying. You ever get those albums that, you know, you picked them up and you thought, hey, this will be really good, but they just don't hit you right, or maybe they don't, you know, maybe you can't quite get into them? Well, that's the way this one hits me, and I don't know, I was anticipating it being really good. This is Tim Story's Untitled. No, yeah, that's right, Untitled. He actually did the cover for it as well. And really, let's see, I think he's the only one. I think he did all the instruments and everything on here. The piano, the synthesizer, electric guitar, vibraphone, recorder, effects. And so everything is, including the cover, was done by Tim Story. But I've tried to, you know, I want to appreciate this album more so than what I do, but every time I put it on, it kind of, I feel a little bit let down by it or something. Maybe this just isn't the release, maybe one of his better releases, but at any rate, it's just like the tunes are too simple for me or something. I see my battery is blinking, so maybe I should end it here. But I was going to say that there are also those albums that you see out and about, like this one. This is Michael Hedges' Aerial Boundaries. I saw this CD in half-price books for $2. It's like one of those CDs that I thought, how could somebody get rid of that? Because I really like Michael Hedges. But if you can ever find like this album, or really any of his other albums, he plays acoustical guitar, And then I think this is the first album I picked up by him, maybe, or it was Breakfast in the Field, I can't remember. But I see my battery light is blinking, so I guess I'll better get off of here and recharge my batteries. At any rate, wanted to come on and show you what I found over Record Store Day, and hope you're enjoying your day wherever you are. We'll talk to you later. Bye.